Today on Talk Jeju, we're talking about Jeju mythology. As always, Todd Thacker joins me in the studio. So Todd, we're departing a bit from our usual format and looking into a part of the culture that I find quite interesting. The myths behind the places that we talk about daily here on the news. A few which are well known and others maybe less so.
Yes, I know you really do enjoy this topic, and yeah, of course, we've had the opportunity over the years to, talk a little bit about these myths as we speak about things in the news. We've talked about the foundation myths, both for the island and the Jeju people. Mm-hmm. I thought perhaps we'd just deal with that in a little more breadth and depth today.
Sounds great. Now, I think first, though, we should define the following terms. We have myths, folklore, and legends, and they're actually pretty hard to pin down, and they often overlap.
Yes, that's right. There's much more of a spectrum than a cut and dried classification. On the one hand, you have historical facts, and then as things progress, you have invented stories with cultural meaning, and in between, they all overlap and blur. So a legend generally has some basis in historical fact, but then myths and folklore, they have more cultural meaning, and they are told orally for centuries.
Okay. Now, you mentioned just before here Jeju's foundation myths, and I think that's probably a logical place to start. The island, for example, was said to be created by kind of this very super strong mythical character known as grandmother Solmunde. And it took her just 7 huge shovels of dirt to create, Holla mountain and the surrounding area, and the dirt which fell from her skirt was said to have become the island's, 360 or so volcanic cones, or odum, as they're known in Korean.
Yes, and she pops up in a number of different myths, and we're going to be talking more about her.
Now, as for the Jeju people, we've talked about Samseonghyeol on a past Talk Jeju, and this is a place right here in Jeju City where the originators of the island's 3 clans, the demigods named Bu, Yang, and Go, came to Earth to form the Hamna kingdom. In the myth, a box washes ashore, and in it are 3 princesses from the fictional state of Pyeongnam, and the 3 couples settle areas of the island based on where their arrows fell after shooting them off.
Right, and the Samseonghyeol site is really impressive. I mean, the 3 holes are still there, and we do know that this particular site is very popular with, say, Japanese tourists.
Right.
They really enjoy the history of the site, and it's one of my favorite places to go as well.
And there's one thing that I know about that. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the Samseonghyeol myth actually directly relates to one of the island's iconic animals, the Jeju pony.
No, I had never made that connection.
So in the 3 clans myth, the princesses didn't come empty-handed in their boxes. They also had 5 grains, a calf, and a foal. The Jeju ponies, have long been an important kind of export for the island. There are records dating back to 1073, the Goryeo dynasty, listing Jeju ponies being presented to the mainland king. In fact, parts of the mid-slope area of the mountain were for centuries grazing and breeding areas for these prized animals, and in fact still are today in some places.
Oh, well, I see that now. So, okay, well, now that we know about the myths and how they tell about the creation of the island and the people, how about we run down some of the prominent sites around the island that have myths associated with them. Perhaps we should start with Mount Holla, our most prominent sort of feature on the island.
Sure, and I think grandmother Solmunde again makes an appearance in this one.
Right. Okay, so this myth takes place at the Baeknokdam crater, right at the peak. Apparently, the eldest son was one day of Solmunde. He was out hunting, and things were not going very well. So he got frustrated, and what do? You shoot an arrow into the sky. Unfortunately, he hit the kingdom, the king of heaven, apparently, and in a rage, the god tore the top off the mountain.
And the top of the mountain fell on the southwest side of the island to become none other than Bong Sun.
Yes, exactly. Now, I think you can see a theme sort of developing here. I mean, we're talking about rocks, stones, and women. These two prominent themes in Jeju myths. And actually, it's no surprise because that is, as we know, the Jeju Samda, or three plenties, are women, stones, and wind.
And of course, there are more examples of this. Of course, the 500 generals outcrop on Holla Mountain I'm thinking of, that's at Yeongsil, I believe. And according to that myth, grandmother Solmundae, again, had 500 children, and one day when cooking soup for all of them using a giant cauldron, she fell in. The sons returned, devouring the soup, of course not knowing that their mother was inside of it. They were so distraught when they realized at the end of their meal what had happened that they mourned until they turned into stone, hence these 500 stone outcroppings that are called the 500 generals.
Right, very interesting. Actually, another Mount Holla related myth is it's called Ahon Aopgol, or the 99 Valleys.
Okay.
Now, the story says that at one point there were 100 valleys in this area of the mountain. But one day, a monk arrived from China, and he told the Jeju people that if they wanted to get rid of the island's wild predators, dangerous animals, that they should all get together and shout as one.
Okay.
And so to save themselves, they did this, and mysteriously all the animals kind of grouped together into one place. And the monk told the animals to leave, taking a single valley. One particular valley. The animals did so, and they disappeared along with the monk and the valley. So that's why there are now only 99 valleys. And this myth basically is trying to explain why Jeju Island doesn't have these wild predators such as lions and bears.
Right,
tigers.
which maybe, at least in the past, maybe they could have been found up on the mainland.
Right.
Now, how about another quick grandmother Solmundae myth? I know there are a lot to choose from.
Sure. How about this one? It's relating to Bum Island, which is on the south coast.
Okay.
Now, the myth says that Solmundae, when she went to sleep, she would rest her head on Baeknokdam crater, and she would rest her feet on Bum Island. And that is, I checked, it's about 16 kilometers for those keeping score.
Okay. Another one, while we're talking about these here, is one related to the Kimnyong Sagul, or the Snake Cave, east of Jeju City. In this story, there's a giant snake. A giant snake would emerge from the cave and kind of wreak havoc on the farmers' fields and actually cause a famine. So the villagers came up with a plan and would give the snake an annual sacrifice, a village girl.
Oh no.
So when a newly appointed judge by the name of Seo Ryun arrived in the village, he took matters into his own hands and came up with a plan to kill the snake. However, with the deed done, the myth tells, he was successful, and with that done, the myth tells of a blood rain which fell on the island. Of course, this is the revenge of the snake from beyond the grave.
Oh, that's quite a story.
Well, Todd, we're almost out of time, so any final thoughts or a final myth maybe you'd like to mention? I know we can't cover them all.
Well, yeah, how about let's do one more, and it's more of a kind of a timeless theme, the seeking out eternal youth. Now, this relates to a very famous waterfalls in the south called Jeongbang waterfalls. And the myth says that a man, again from China, was by the name of Sobul. He was sent to Jeju Island to find the elixir of immortality for the emperor. Now, he was unsuccessful, and as he was leaving at Jeongbang waterfall, he wrote his name. He wrote Sobul Gwacha, which basically means Sobul is heading home, heading west. And in fact, actually, they say that that's how Seogwibo got its name.
Well, I could use a bit of that elixir if I could have some. And anyway, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Todd, for the stories, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Nick.
If you have any questions or comments, please email them to talkjeju@kctvcheju.com. Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you'll join us next week at the same time. Can't wait until then, though. Visit us online at eng.kctvcheju.com or follow us on Facebook. 시청해주신 여러분, 고맙습니다.